لساني يفقهوا قولي. Assalamualaikum and good afternoon everybody. Okay, for terlewat, saya mengambil kesempatan ini untuk mengucapkan selamat Hari Raya Aidilfitri kepada semua yang masih merayakannya. Dan welcome back to UPM. Kepada yang merayakan Hari Raya Aidilfitri, saya ada ucapan dan soalan. Soalan saya berbunyi begini. Mana kuih raya saya? Nabila. Bina Nabila.
Ya, Doktor.
Mana kuih raya?
Tak adalah, Doktor. Sorry.
Mana boleh tak ada. Ni semua balik rumah kedekut ni. Tak baik. Oh, kesian saya duduk seorang tak ada makanan. Alright, never mind. Nurliana. Oh, masih beraya kah?
Ya, Doktor.
Oh, masih beraya
Tak.
ada kuih raya untuk saya?
InsyaAllah kalau Doktor nak.
InsyaAllah. Ya, itu jawapan yang saya sangat gembira. Okay, bagus. Okay, now kita sambung. We continue with where do we stop? Where do we stop last 2 weeks? Iaitu gigi kan? The teeth dah habis So now we continue with pharynx. Okay? Ini pun sudah kan? Okay, never mind. Okay. Pharynx adalah is a connection between from mouth to the pharynx. From the mouth, the oropharynx and laryngopharynx will allow the passage of fluids and food going into the esophagus. This is esophagus, the one that you cannot see. The lumen is already collapsed. Okay, this is the pharynx. Okay, the oropharynx and the laryngopharynx is the common passageway for food to pass from the mouth to the esophagus. This area will line with stratified squamous epithelium, as well as we have numerous mucus glands. Okay, the construction of pharynx. As kita dah belajar ini di dalam respiratory, I think. Right? It has 2 layers of skeletal muscle, right? Because pharynx we can control the constriction of the pharynx area, right? When we try to swallow things, we swallow it voluntarily, okay? Bukannya involuntarily. So we have skeletal muscle there. Alright. So that layers of muscle will be arranged in two layers, inner layer and outer layer. The inner will be arranged longitudinal, the outer will be arranged perpendicular or into constrictor. Okay. So apabila both constrict into a reed, which it will push the bolus from here, it will push the bolus into the esophagus. Okay. Kita dah belajar berkenaan pharynx in our respiratory system. So pharynx, we have 3 areas: nasopharynx, oropharynx, and laryngopharynx. Okay, the one that are associated with GIT adalah the oropharynx and the laryngopharynx. Okay. Now, histology of the alimentary canal wall. Okay. We have 4 layers throughout the length of our gastrointestinal tract. Okay. From the esophagus to the anal canal, we have these distinctive 4 layers. Yaitu, from the inside out, what do we have? We have mucosa layer. This is mucosa layer, right? And then we have submucosa layer, and then we have muscularis externa, and then we have the serosa. Okay, mucosa layer. This is mucosa layer, and then we have submucosa layer, and then we have muscularis externa, and then we have the serosa. Kita ada 4 walls ni sama from the esophagus to the anal canal, except that different part will have different ketebalan. Okay, different thickness of either one. Okay, tak semua sama tetapi we still have 4. So we take a number 1, the inner layer, mucosa, ataupun mucous membrane of the gut. Okay. Here in the mucosa layer, what do we have? Lining epithelium. Underneath that lining epithelium, we have lamina propria. Underneath that lamina propria adalah we have the muscularis mucosa. Yeah. The whole length of this adalah mucosa layer. So, number 1, the innermost layer adalah the lining epithelium. What type of epithelium that we have to line the mucosa of the GIT. And then underneath that, we have lamina propria. Inside lamina propria, we have gland. Some of the glands are located in the lamina propria of the mucosa layer. And then the outermost layer of the mucosa layer adalah the muscularis mucosa. These muscularis mucosa usually are arranged longitudinally. Alright? But the epithelium in the GIT, okay, the function of them adalah number 1, to absorb nutrient as well as to secrete mucus. Okay, mucus. Okay. These epithelium usually are continuous with ducts and secretory cell of the intrinsic digestive gland. The intrinsic digestive gland are the glands that are located within the wall of the GIT itself. Macam ni soalan. Okay, make it bigger. Alright. Okay, this is how it looks like. So the lining are continuous with the gland. Yeah, the gland. There are some extrinsic glands, okay, or accessory glands, such as liver and pancreas. Usually the accessory gland are accessory gland of the GIT itself, and it is a big gland. Okay. Second layer of the mucosa is lamina propria. This is made up of loose connective tissue, which having much capillaries in order to provide the mucosa layer, the whole mucosa layer with nourishment. As well as those capillaries are to transport the thing that being absorbed by the epithelium layer. Usually in the lamina propria, we have MALT, mucosa-associated lymphoid tissue. Mucosa-associated lymphoid tissue like this. So it is located in the lamina propria of the mucosa layer. The third and the externalmost layer of the mucosa are muscularis mucosa. This area ataupun this layer are made up of continuous or longitudinally arranged smooth muscle. This smooth muscle will allow constriction to local area of the mucosa itself. So ingat mucosa, what do you have? You have this epithelium which is continuous with the gland, and then we have mucosa with and then we have lamina propria, a connective tissue which are rich with blood vessel as well as some lymphoid tissue that we call as mouth. And then the third layer adalah muscularis mucosa. Right? And then we have this one, second layer, submucosa. Submucosa juga is made up of connective tissue. And this area containing blood and lymphatic vessel as well as the nerve. Okay? Ya adalah, itulah. Okay. Blood vessel, lymphatic vessel, okay? Yeah, in the submucosa area. Inside the submucosa area juga, we have elastic fiber. What does it do? It will provide the gut with the ability to regain its shape after food passes that segment. Because what? Because they are under elastic fiber, so it can recoil back into its original location and shape. And then we have the third layer, muscularis externa. In some book, it is just called as muscularis. This is the two layer of smooth muscle cell which are responsible for peristalsis movement and segmentation movement of the intestine, in which the muscularis externa layer are arranged in such a way that the constriction of this muscle will provide the peristalsis as well as the pushing effect of the intestine. So we have the inner layer which are arranged circular or circumferential. This, whenever it contract, it will squeeze the content so that it will be pushed towards the unsqueezed portion. In some places, this inner circular layer will form sphincter. And this sphincter usually will act as valves. Second layer of the muscle in the muscularis externa adalah the one that are arranged longitudinally. Okay? This muscle layer, whenever it constricts, it will shorten that segment of the intestine. So together, this will cause peristalsis movement, in which we push the food inside our body, inside our GIT. The last or the outer layer of the GIT adalah the serosa. Serosa juga is actually the visceral peritoneum. Okay, what does it made up of? It is made up of epithelium and connective tissue. Okay? Epithelium usually mesothelium, simple squamous epithelium. And then, beside that, what do we have? We have the connective tissue, simple connective tissue, thin layer of areolar tissue underneath the simple squamous epithelium. These have some exception, yaitu the area in which we do not have serosa adalah parts where we do not have peritoneum, exception are parts which are not located in the peritoneal cavity. This area we have adventitia, and that adventitia we do not have serosa. Some of the organ might have both the serosa and the adventitia layer, such as all the other organs that are located retroperitoneal. All right. Smooth muscle, you know, right? So this is the smooth muscle. Okay, muscle are spindle-shaped cell with one centrally located nucleus. These cells are then grouped into sheets, and these sheets usually are running perpendicular to each other. Therefore, it will provide peristalsis, and these muscles do not have striation. Okay, now. Nerve. Nerve to the GIT. We have enteric nervous system, which are owned by the gut itself. This is the visceral plexus, which are located within the gut wall, which will control the constriction of the muscle, constriction of the glands, and plus it might have sensory information. Right? We have two areas in which we have this enteric nervous system, yaitu in myenteric, in muscularis, it will exist as myenteric plexus, and we have in submucosa area. Enteric nervous system might have up to 100 million neurons. Stated in that book, it is as many as what the spinal cord has. Apart from the enteric nervous system of the GIT, we also have input, autonomic input, which are coming from the CNS, central nervous system. This will speed up or slow down the GI system. Okay? Parasympathetic and sympathetic. Parasympathetic will stimulate the digestive function, therefore it will increase the peristalsis, it will increase the constriction and the formation of bolus. It will also increase the secretion of certain glands throughout the intestine or throughout the GIT. Whereas we have sympathetic input, which are coming from the central nervous system juga, in which this will inhibit all all the things that have been made up by the parasympathetic. Sympathetic will inhibit digestion, the blood will flow away, the peristalsis will eventually stop, and other things lah. So that usually occur during emergency. Okay, some definition. So far ada soalan? Human Fei, you have any question?
No, doctor.
Mardia Ahmad Zamri, do you have any question?
Ada doktor.
Ada?
Ada.
Ada ke tak ada?
No doktor.
One Aini Fakihah.
Yes, doctor.
Any question?
No question, doctor.
All right. You want to have a break? Nurul Ain? Tak dengar suara. Okay. Teruskan. Some definition that you might need to know, right? Number one, peritoneum. This is a serous membranes of the abdominopelvic cavity. Right? Peritoneum ada parietal and visceral peritoneum. The visceral peritoneum will cover external surface of most digestive organ that we have in our peritoneum. Whereas the parietal peritoneum, it will stick or lines the body wall. Therefore, between the visceral and parietal peritoneum, there will be space or cavity. We call that as peritoneal cavity. Inside this peritoneal cavity, usually what do we have? We have fluid, serous fluid. What is the function of this fluid? For lubrication of the organs so that the movement of the organ inside our abdomen will not it's not rubbing. It will rub on each other, but with ease. Right. So now, second definition, second word, mesentery. This is the double layer of peritoneum which extend to the digestive organ coming out from the body wall. What does it do? It will hold the organs in place. Second function, it will store fat. Third function, it will provide the route in which the vessel and the nerve will come and follow this thing so that it can reach the organs. Usually mesentery are coming from the dorsal wall. So kita panggil dorsal mesentery. It extends dorsally from the gut to posterior abdominal wall. And then we have the ventral mesentery, which coming out from the stomach and the liver to the anterior abdominal wall. some mesentery, although it is a peritoneum by right, it is called as ligament because the appearance of it looks like the ligament. So dorsal, note dorsal, ventral, and formation of the retroperitoneal position. Dorsal mesentery, ventral mesentery. Okay, this is the transverse section of the abdominal cavity, in which you can see the peritoneum area, which are lined by the parietal peritoneum and visceral peritoneum. Visceral peritoneum adalah the one that are surrounding the organ itself. Okay, here the one that coming from the back of the body, we call it as dorsal mesentery. The one that coming from the anterior part of the body wall or this cavity, we call it as ventral mesentery. From this, some of the organs will eventually melekat, adhere to the wall of the it will melekat to the wall of the peritoneum so that it will lose the parts of the visceral peritoneum. So that this organ we call as retroperitoneal organ. Ia berada di luar peritoneal cavity. Okay. So tadi kita ingat kita ada mesentery dorsal dan ventral. Now, the two ventral mesentery will form the ligament, yaitu number one, falciform ligament. See, tengok ni. This is the peritoneum. This is the lining of peritoneum cavity, peritoneum and pelvic cavity. And then we can see the visceral ataupun ventral mesentery which are coming from the front of the body. So it will split to cover the liver. Before it split, it will look like the ligament, and that ligament we call as falciform ligament. And then after the splitting that will cover the liver, it will unite again to form the two layer of peritoneum, serous peritoneum, and that what we call as the lesser omentum. Okay, lesser omentum, and then it will enclose the stomach, and then it will comes out again in such a way the two layer will become greater omentum before it goes again surrounding the transverse colon. After that, it will attach to the back or posterior parts of the peritoneal cavity by means of apa saya cakap tadi? Entah, saya pun tak tahu apa dia cakap. It will attach to the dorsal peritoneal wall. Okay. All the other mesentery are coming out from the dorsal. So kita panggil sebagai mesentery lah, tapi ada nama-nama dia nanti So this is mesentery. Understand or not mesentery things? Okay. Now, greater omentum will connect stomach to the posterior abdominal wall. Okay. Very big. That will wrap around the spleen to form the gastrosplenic ligament. And then it will continue dorsally to become spinorenal ligament. Inside the greater omentum, we have accumulation of a lot of fat. By wrapping of this greater omentum, it will limit the spread of if there is any infection. Mesentery proper or mesentery, this will support the jejunum and ileum parts of the small intestine. Here. This is the mesentery lah. Mesentery proper. It will hold the jejunum and ileum and parts of the small intestine. Okay, and then we have the transverse mesocolon, which will hold the transverse colon to the posterior abdominal wall, and these mesentery are nearly horizontal in position, and then it will fuse with the greater omentum underside of that sheet. And then we have another mesentery we call as mesocolon sigmoid. This will connect the sigmoid colon to the posterior abdominal wall. Right? Like that. What we can see here in the cadaver, we can see the liver and we can see the greater omentum. Apa ni? What is this greater omentum? This is this one. This is this one, greater omentum. This is the greater omentum, right? The greater omentum. Okay. Sigmoid mesocolon sudah ada. Okay, greater omentum. Again, this is greater omentum. This is transverse mesocolon. Okay. Greater omentum is just like a drip or macam kain will cover the transverse colon. Lepas tu, that we have another one, we call it as transverse mesocolon. This is the mesentery proper, which hold the jejunum and ileum. All right, now some organs are located retroperitoneal, as what you can see just now. Okay, these locations are behind the peritoneum. Okay, due to something happened, folding of the embryo, some of the organ might go back atau will go adhere to the posterior abdominal wall, and then it fuse. The membrane will fuse together. The retroperitoneal organ, we do not have any more mesentery there holding it because it does not need that. Dia sudah berada di belakang. So, which organ are retroperitoneal? Duodenum, most of it, right? Okay. Ascending colon, descending colon, rectum and pancreas. Okay. If there is anything happen to this organ will cause back pain rather than abdominal pain because the location of it are already behind the abdominal wall, behind the peritoneum of the abdominal wall. Okay? Any question? Nor Amisha. Ada question tak?
Tak ada, doktor.
Hah?
Tak ada, doktor.
Tak ada. Ada kuih raya tak?
Ada, doktor.
Bagus. Syarifah Hani Zafira. Ada question tak?
No, doktor.
Ada kuih raya?
Tak ada, doktor.
Kenapa awak tak ada kuih raya? Ada orang ada kuih raya. Awak memang tak bawa balik ke? Awak memang kedekut?
Saya tak suka kuih raya, doktor.
Awak suka kuih apa? Kuih puasa?
Tak suka kuih.
Awak suka apa? Nasi Arab Cik Amar.
Tak, kalau makanan raya rendang je, doktor.
Okey. Habis awak ada buat rendang?
Tak juga, doktor.
Okey, kita break sekejap sekejap kita break 10 minutes, nanti kita sambung lagi. Oh, you met Nadira. Okay, we continue. Semua masih ada. Puyi, awak dah tidur?
Oh, yes, Doctor.
Ada Okay, now.
Ada.
Alright, we sambung with esophagus. Okay, now, this is the continuation from the pairing, in the midnight. Okay, esophagus is a muscular tube. It is a collapsible muscular tube, meaning that it will be collapsed when it is empty. The esophagus descends through thorax. Location of the descent of the esophagus are on the anterior surface of the vertebral column, and it is located just behind or posterior to the trachea, like what we see just now in our previous gambar kan. Okay, so esophagus is the connection between the pharynx to the stomach. Okay, most of it are located in the chest area. Okay. Esophagus will go through or pass through the esophageal hiatus in the diaphragm, and then it will enter the abdomen area. The abdominal part of the esophagus is only about 2 centimeter long sahaja. Then suddenly it will connect with the stomach. The connection of the esophagus to the stomach occurred at the junction that we call as cardiac orifice. Okay. Inside this cardiac orifice, we have cardiac sphincter. Okay. This cardiac sphincter will prevent regurgitation, yaitu it will prevent the food from coming back into the esophagus. Sorry, the junction yang tadi saya cakap tadi adalah esophageal gastroesophageal junction. That is the area where esophagus will join with the stomach. Gastroesophageal junction, and inside that, what do we have? Cardiac sphincter. Inside that, what do we have? We have the cardiac orifice. Okay, anatomy of histology of the esophagus. we have all 4 layers of the things that we have discussed. Semua benda 4 layers yang ada dalam gastrointestinal tract, we have here in the esophagus. Okay? The mucosa are lined with epithelium. What type of epithelium? We have non-keratinized stratified squamous epithelium throughout the esophagus. Non-keratinized stratified squamous epithelium. Nampak tu? Stratified squamous epithelium. There is thick here. Okay? And then at the area gastroesophagus junction, that will be replaced by simple columnar epithelium. Okay, simple columnar epithelium. From this thick, it will become 1 layer thick sahaja. Okay. In the wall of this esophagus, we have the mucus gland. Okay, we have mucus gland. And then the third layer, and then we have the submucosa lah. Okay, we have the mucosa. Apa benda penting dalam mucosa ni adalah stratified squamous epithelium non-keratinized, and then that will change into simple squamous, simple columnar epithelium at the junction, gastroesophageal junction, and then we have the second layer, submucosa layer, okay, which are made up of areolar connective tissue, and then we have the muscularis externa layer. Okay. Muscularis externa ada karakteristik dia macam ini. Okay. It will change as it goes down. Number 1, the superior third of the esophagus is made up of skeletal muscle, just like we have in the pharynx. Because what? Because we can control this area. We swallow things voluntarily. And then the middle third adalah a mixture of skeletal and smooth muscle. Somehow, somewhat, some of it we can't control. But the inferior third of the esophagus are made up entirely of smooth muscle. This is as the same as what we have in stomach and intestine. We can't control anymore. Okay? So we can't control the peristalsis here. So esophagus, when it is empty, it will lie in longitudinal fold. All right, now we share lain pula. Mana dia? Okay, part 2. It's already part 2. Where are you? Where are you? I can't see you. All right. Semua boleh nampak Okay, now before we move on to the inner area, okay, kita balik ke tengok the abdominal wall. So the anterior abdominal wall. For the purpose of description, what we have, we divide the stomach, or we divide the anterior abdominal wall into 9 regions and 4 quadrants. 9 region, we use 4 imaginary lines, yaitu 2 mid-clavicular line and 1 transpyloric gland, and then transtubercular gland. Okay. I want you to know why kita panggil this area. Kenapa kita ada kenapa kita panggil that line just like that, transpyloric, transtubercular, mid-clavicular. Nanti carilah kenapa. Chu Man Fei, you can see my slide?
Can.
Good. Tak ada lelaki Melayu ke? Muhammad Fitri.
Yes, doctor.
Tidur ke?
No, doctor.
Buat apa?
Still watching the slide.
Ya. Tangan buat apa?
Taking some note.
Ya ke? Bukan tangan main game kat handphone.
No, doctor. No.
Ya, bagus. Bagus. Muhammad Fitri. Muhammad Faik.
Yes, doktor.
Tengah buat apa?
Fokus what doktor explain.
Wow, fokus tu. Wah. Tak mengantuk.
Not yet.
Baguslah kalau macam tu. Okay, good. Now, okay, ini adalah 9 regions that we divide. Kita tengok yang bawah, epigastric. Kita tinggal kat bawah, epigastric region, tengah-tengah atas, tengah-tengah, umbilical region, and then bawah daripada umbilical adalah hypogastric region. And then left and right of the epigastric adalah hypochondrium. Left and right of the umbilical region adalah lumbar region. Left and right of the hypogastric adalah iliac region. Okay. Epigastric adalah above the gastric ataupun sebelah-sebelah gastric. Okay, epigastric, just near the gastric. Where's the gastric? Gastric is the stomach lah. This is stomach. Umbilical, because dia ambil sempena umbilicus here, pusat. Hypogastric adalah di bawah this one, gastric. Alright. Why do we need this? Because we have to narrow down the area in which we want to refer something. Such as, kalau kita sakit perut, kita bagi tahu pergi klinik, kita boleh cakap kat doktor, okay, I have a pain sensation, dull pain or sharp pain at my right lumbar area or right iliac area. Okay. So doktor tu kalau right lumbar, hypogastric, umbilical and right iliac, kalau ada sharp pain, dull pain, persistent for many days or weeks, so kita boleh suspect you might have something wrong with your appendix. Okay. Or we go to the doctor and say we have pain, dull pain, sometimes sharp pain at the epigastric area and left hypochondrium area. So, kita mungkin ada masalah gastrik, kan? Okay. Or kalau kita tak boleh, if we cannot do like this, we put into 4 quadrants saja by 1 vertical line and 1 vertical and 1 horizontal line, which will go through the umbilical. So that we have the right and the lower quadrant. Right, kita ada left and right quadrant, upper quadrant, and then we have the left and right lower quadrant. But this area adalah besar kalau kita nak refer something. Still big, okay? Okay, so in this story, we can see that our stomach are located in epigastric, hypochondrium and umbilical region. Our large intestine will be at our right lumbar and right iliac. Okay, and then we have intestine. Majority of it are located in the umbilical region. All right. Okay, now. Stomach. It is a J-shaped organ and it is the widest part of alimentary canal. It serves as a temporary storage area and mixing area of the food. Usually the food will stay here for about 4 hours and then it will be changed after mixing into what we call as chyme. Inside the stomach also we have the starting process of food breakdown in which we have pepsin which will digest the protein. Pepsin is the protein digesting enzyme which which are secreted in our stomach because in the stomach we have acidic environment. Okay, beside that pepsin we have hydrochloric acid. It is an acid that will help to kill the bacteria which come together with the food. Okay, bear in mind that it is very acidic in the stomach. In order for the pepsin to work properly. And the stomach can tolerate high acidic value or high acidic content. But esophagus, our esophagus does not tolerate to very high acidic content. So that is why it is hurt so much when we have the regurgitation, when the content of the stomach reflux into the esophagus. We have that burn sensation we call as heartburn or GRD. Most of the nutrient that we take usually will be absorbed inside the small intestine, but some of it might be absorbed through the abdomen, through the stomach wall, such as water, electrolytes, some drugs like aspirin and alcohol might be absorbed, not might, memang be absorbed through the okay. Okay, kalau kita tengok, if we look at this area, we know that the most of the stomach are located in the left upper quadrant. But when we have something wrong with our stomach, the pain can be felt at epigastric or lower area. Okay, stomach are located just below the diaphragm. It is located in front or anterior to the spleen and pancreas. And it is located underneath or behind or tucked under left lower margin of the liver. And it is anchored at both ends. But in between, it is mobile. It can bergoncang sana, bergoncang sini. This is the area, the main area of the stomach. What do we have? We have fundus, dome-shaped area. We have body of stomach. We have pyloric region, which consists of pyloric antrum and pyloric canal. And then we have pylorus. Okay, esophagus here. And then we have cardiac region. Yeah, ini cardiac region, satu region lagi. Okay, inside this cardiac region, we have the cardiac orifice. Inside the pylorus, we have the pyloric sphincter. Okay. This is the big curve, this is the small curve. So this is the greater curvature of the stomach. This is lesser curvature of the stomach. So this is the main thing that you need to know about the stomach. What you have: cardiac region, fundus, body, pyloric antrum, pyloric canal of the pyloric region, and pylorus. Lesser curvature, greater curvature. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Alright. Capacity of the stomach, about 1.5 liter of food, and it can max out to 4 liter. Okay, again, same, This is the same thing. I just want to show you what is attached to the lesser curvature adalah the lesser omentum. Okay, lesser omentum. What is attached to the greater curvature adalah greater omentum. Again, this is the stomach region. We have the cardiac region, we have fundus, the dome shape, we have body with greater curvature, lesser curvature. We have pyloric region, which consists of pyloric antrum, pyloric canal, and pyloric sphincter. So macam ni lah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 pula, tadi 10. When we cut open our stomach, what do we have? We have this folding here. This is the longitudinal fold on the internal surface. We call it as ragae. Because it is located in the longitudinal fold, it will have this tensibility of the stomach, meaning that the stomach can grow bigger, can take more loads. Okay. What is different between the normal 4 layer of our GIT histology? We have additional layer of muscularis, yaitu we have innermost layer, oblique layer, along with the circular and longitudinal layer of the muscularis externa. So in here, in stomach, what do you have? Muscularis externa have 3 layers of muscle. Yang biasa, normally we can find longitudinal layer and circular layer. Now the innermost layer, it is the additional layer. Does it arrange? It will arrange obliquely. Okay. Now, are you okay? Are you okay or not okay? Hopefully you're okay. Okay, now histology, some histology of the stomach. Okay, the mucosa of the stomach are lined by simple columnar epithelium. This simple columnar epithelium will secrete bicarbonate buffered mucus onto the surface. Okay. Okay. The surface epithelium, okay, the surface area akan ada this one, pit. We call it as pit. What is the pit? Actually, the pit actually is the opening of the gland. Okay, remember our epithelium, usually epithelium will continue with the gland inside the wall. So same in the stomach. So gastric pit will continue with the gastric gland. It is actually the opening of the gland. So what do we have? We have surface epithelium there, and then we have the surface epithelium will be changed into mucous neck cell. And then inside that area, we have the parietal cell. Scattered among the mucous neck cell adalah parietal cell. And then going deeper, that mucous neck cell will be replaced by chief cell. Go back, kita tengok, the mucous neck cell adalah the one that secrete mucus lah, kan? And then we have parietal cell. Parietal cell are the one that will secrete the hydrochloric acid, as well as the intrinsic factor for absorption of B12 vitamins. And then we have chief cell. Chief cell going into the depth of the mucosa area. And then chief cell will release or will secrete pepsinogen. Pepsinogen will be activated with hydrochloric acid. Therefore, it can be used to chop down or to digest the protein. Chief cell, in order to secrete the pepsinogen, it must be stimulated by stomach hormone gastrin. Okay, gastrin. Find out where gastrin comes from. And then we have submucosa layer, contain the submucosa plexus and whatnot. And then we have the muscularis externa with additional oblique innermost layer, then ordinary circular layer and longitudinal layer of muscle. Then we have serosa. So altogether we have 4 layers. Okay, this is gastrin. You find out where does it come from. Okay, now we move on to our small intestine. Small intestine adalah the longest part of our alimentary canal. So most of our enzymatic digestion will occur here. Enzyme will be secreted by pancreas, not the small intestine. Almost all nutrients will be absorbed inside the small intestine. And this process will take up to 6 hours. Minimum 3 hours, maximum is 6 hours process of absorption. Okay? Where does it start? It starts from the pyloric sphincter to mana? To the right lower quadrant. Small intestine have 3 area or 3 subdivision, yaitu duodenum, jejunum, ileum. Duodenum will make about 5% of the entire length. Jejunum almost 40, and the rest is ileum, 60 up to 60, right? Blood supply to the small intestine coming from the superior mesenteric artery and blood will go back into the system through the hepatic portal vein. Duodenum, the first part of the small intestine, are retroperitoneal, in which it is located behind or under the peritoneum. Okay. First part of the duodenum is retroperitoneal. Others are lobes. So the duodenum will receive bile, the green color, from the liver and gallbladder through the bile duct, and enzyme from the pancreas through the pancreatic duct. Small intestine are designed for absorption. Therefore, it have a huge surface area because of it has a great length, as well as it have structural modification. What are the structural modification? Number one is this one, plica circularis. It is a circular fold. Tadi stomach ada longitudinal fold, but the intestine are equipped with circular fold. Apart from that, what do we have? We have finger-like projection. Okay, this is folding, and then we have finger-like projection. Kita panggil sebagai villi. And then, what do we have? On this is mucosa area, we have cells which are equipped with microvilli. So, altogether, it has a very great amount of surface area to deal with the absorption that are needed for our nutrient absorption. Okay. Inside this, we have the lacteal. It is a network of blood and lymph capillary inside the finger-like projection ataupun villi tadi. Okay, it is a network of blood and lymph capillary that will carry carbohydrate and protein to the liver, going through the blood, hepatic portal vein, and the fat will go into the lymph. Okay, fat soluble toxin such as pesticide will circulate systematically inside our body before it will be detoxified in the liver. Okay. Apart from that, what do we have lagi? We have crypt, intestinal crypt, or in some book, dia panggil sebagai crypt of Lieberkühn. It is a crypt that are located in between the villi. Okay? Here, the cells are divided every 3 to 6 days to renew the epithelium. This is the area, the most rapidly dividing cell of the body. Because what? Because cells tend to slough off, cells tend to die dekat ujung-ujung. So the crypt of Lieberkühn will supply the intestine or the villi with the new cell every 3 to 6 days. And crypt of Lieberkühn will secrete watery intestinal juice. This juice will mix with chyme. Therefore, all the nutrient inside it can be chemically processed by the mixture of these. Okay, apart from this secretion and whatnot, we have bacteria, intestinal flora. Okay, it is the normal bacteria that exists in our intestine that will help with the absorption. By means of some of the bacteria will mix vitamins such as vitamin K. Vitamin K then will be absorbed. Structure. Again, beside this intestinal crypt, we have gland, duodenal gland. Duodenal gland will produce mucus. Mucus is there to counteract with the acidity which are coming from the stomach. And then duodenal gland also will secrete hormones such as cholecystokinin. Cholecystokinin will stimulate gallbladder to release bile. Cholecystokinin also will stimulate pancreas to release its content. Second hormone adalah secretin, which will stimulate pancreatic duct to release acid neutralizer. Okay, so the general histology of the intestine are the same as general of the digestive tract, in which we still have 4 layers, but some modification. Mucosa area are thrown into fold. That fold we panggil sebagai plica secularis. Okay, and then on every plica secularis we have villi, a finger-like projection, on which on every villi we have that epithelium covered surface, and that epithelium adalah columnar epithelium with microvilli. And then we have submucosa layer inside. In the mucosa we still have lamina propria, and then we have the gland inside the lamina propria. Okay, and then we have the muscularis mucosa. Then we have the submucosa, connective tissue, with all the vessels inside that. And then we have muscularis externa. Here, muscularis externa, we have only 2 layers, inner circular, outer longitudinal range. And then we have the serosa, or the visceral peritoneum. This is another gambar showing the same thing, plica. Okay, circular, muscularis externa, muscularis mucosa, submucosa, and mucosa. Okay, now we move on to the large intestine. It will start from the ileocecal valve, okay, and ends in rectum. Okay, we have a blunt area we call as appendix. Okay, large intestine, kita ada bahagian dia, iaitu we have cecum, appendix, colon, rectum, and anal canal. Main function of this to reabsorb water and electrolyte, which are inside the chyme. Alright. Other few special features on the large intestine. Number 1, Taenia coli. This is the Taenia coli, the 3 longitudinal muscle strip. Number 2 special feature of the large intestine are this, kita panggil sebagai haustra. Okay, the puckering of the wall into sac. Okay, haustra. And the third one Ini, yang kuning-kuning yang ini, this is the epiploid appendages. It is a fat pouches or mental fat pouch. Okay, colon. Kita ada tadi ada cecum, appendix, colon, rectum, and canal. Okay, so kita ada cecum, kita ada colon, kita ada appendix, kita ada rectum and anal canal. Okay, so colon. Now we have few segment, yaitu ascending colon, transverse colon, descending colon, sigmoid colon. Okay. Large intestine dia ada turning right angle turn, iaitu kona lipat kau-kau, iaitu kita ada dua, right colic flexure and left colic flexure ataupun hepatic flexure or splenic flexure. The food inside here, the main function here to reabsorb water in electrolyte. So it will move slowly, and the chyme or the feces will become compact because the movement are sluggish and weak, except for a few mass movement per day in which we can feel it. In order to force that movement occurs, in order to force the feces toward the rectum powerfully. So kita bolehlah rasa nak terberak. Okay. Then kita tengok the rectum. Rectum located in the pelvis. We do not have tinea coli on it, but we have strong longitudinal muscle layer. Okay. And it have bowel. Okay, this is rectum, rectum bowel. Okay. And then we have this anal canal. Okay. What do we have in anal canal? Kita ada pectinate line. This is line pectinate in which underneath that ataupun exterior to it adalah skin. The one that sensitive to pain. Dalam ini we do not feel. And then some of it kita ada some inside the wall of the anal canal we have hemorrhoid veins. This is an enlarged vein. Okay, which are located superior to the pectinate line and inferior to the pectinate line. There's a bit here and there. Okay, this is bagaimana awak punya buasir boleh terjadi when it bursts out. And then canal have sphincter. Sphincter that will help in opening and closing the anal canal. So we have two sphincter, internal and external anal sphincter. Internal anal sphincter are smooth muscle, involuntary, we do not control it. External adalah skeletal muscle, voluntary, we can control. So now kita dah sampai sini sebelum kita pergi ke accessory organ next week. Any question before we stop? Nurwan Aini Fakihah.
No question, Doctor.
Siti Nur Syahfika.
No question, Doctor.
Ang Yong Ye.
No question, Doctor.
What I want you to do adalah to go back and read a little bit more about the rectum and the anal canal. Try to understand the story of rectum and anal canal. Okay. Before we stop, kita tengok ini. Large intestine, we do not have B-line. Because what? We do not have terlampau banyak absorption here. Okay? Columnar cell, mucosa of the large intestine are lined with columnar epithelium. Okay? Columnar epithelium here in the large intestine will absorb water and electrolyte. And we have a lot of goblet cells for mucus production. Because the stool, the feces has become compact, we need it to move freely. So now we need to lubricate the area with the mucus. And then we have a lot more of lymphoid tissue because we have a lot of bacteria located in our feces. Okay. Muhammad Firdaus.
Ya, doktor.
Esok kita kelas pukul berapa?
Start pukul 2, doktor.
Okey, esok kita sambung kuliah dengan the accessory organ of the GIT, liver and pancreas Jepun. Right? Kita tak ada amali, kita ada lecture online juga macam ni. And then we finish lah our GIT. Any question? Tong? Hong Liang? Pun Hong Liang? Pun Hong Liang tidur. Tak baik tidur-tidur. Hang Zi Tung.
Yes.
Any question?
Doctor.
Narmita, any question?
No question, doctor.
If there is no question, I stop here. Thank you very much. See you tomorrow 3 o'clock. Don't forget to tick your attendance in your Putra. Kalau tak ada class rep, please do it. Alright? Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you, doctor.
Thank you.
Itu.